Another important injury with lateral position is the spine injury, which you should avoid. Excessive lateral flexion on the cervical spine can happen easily in the lateral position, particularly in the elderly population. This spine injury happens with improper positioning of the patient head. This small positioning of the cervical spine can cause whiplash injury along with brachial plexus traction. It is difficult to appreciate from the head of the operating table, particularly after the surgical drapes are placed. So, it is useful for the anesthesiologist to survey the patient from the side of the table immediately after turning to lateral position, so that you can see the entire vertebral column whether it is aligned properly or not. Here you can see the cervical spine in line with the thoracic spine, and sometimes when the head is lagging down, here you can see the line is not aligned properly. These are the causes for spine injury. It should be in line. That is very important. Coming to other miscellaneous injury, the dependent leg, the lower dependent leg should be slightly flexed with padding under the knee to protect the peroneal nerve lateral to the proximal head of the fibula. The non-dependent leg is placed in a slightly neutral extended position, and the padding should be placed between it and the dependent leg. The dependent leg also should be observed for various vascular compression. Another most important thing in the lateral position is you should not excessively tightly strap at the hip. This might compress the sciatic nerve of the non-dependent leg. That is very important. Other side which are particularly liable for neurovascular injury in the lateral position are the dependent eye and the dependent ear. So, you have a routine head to toe survey. You look at the dependent eye, dependent ear. The cervical spine should be in line with the thoracic spine, and dependent on brachial plexus and the circulation. Should look at the also at the non-dependent on brachial plexus and the circulation. Suprascapular nerve, both dependent and the non-dependent part. Non-dependent sciatic nerve when you place the strap across the hip, and the peroneal nerve at the knee, also the dependent link for the circulation. And there are various pressure point as you go into the lateral position. Here your thoracic part, which includes the rib and the acromion process at the shoulder, greater trochanter at the hip, and the lateral and medial condyle at the knee, and the heel and malleolus at the feet level. And the injury can happen to the elbow, axilla, your hip, your knee, ankle, and the heel. These are all the bony injuries which can happen with the lateral position. So, this is the proper positioning of the patient in the lateral position. Your dependent leg should be flexed. The non-dependent leg should be slightly extended with the padding between the legs, and there should be a thoracic roll which doesn't migrate into the axilla. Your dependent ear and eye should be properly padded. Your cervical spine should be lined with thoracic spine. Your arm should be properly positioned. Usually, you go for IV line in the non-dependent leg and the invasive line on the dependent arm. Everything should be checked from the anterior aspect as well as from the posterior aspect and from the head aspect too. Neurovascular injury of the non-dependent arm are more likely to happen if the arm is suspended or held in an independently positioned arm rest.